Okay, everyone. Hello and welcome to call number 7 of the Step Into Your Authentic Power program. This is Frances Cheung, and I hope everyone is enjoying the first week of the new year so far. I can't believe that we're in the last month of our program, and I'm continuing to hear so many amazing successes from you ladies, like going through the holidays feeling totally sane and not being afraid of food, even being able to lose or maintain weight, not getting sick, feeling healthy, having lots more energy, lots more confidence and happiness, especially compared to years past. So, big yay to all of you. I'm so happy to hear that. And these are such great successes, and please keep sharing them. So far in the program, we've covered a lot of information. We've talked about detoxing, we've talked about nutrition, healthy eating, listening to your body, how to navigate parties and everyday living with a greater consciousness, not just in what foods you put in your mouths, but how you go about your day, how fast or how slow, how aware you are, and intuitive eating. We've also talked a lot about why crap hits the fan when you start to step into your authentic power and expressing your truth, why that's normal and actually a good thing. And we've talked about letting go of what no longer serves you. And more recently, we've talked about feminine versus masculine energies and why you need both, why pleasure is important, and how to attract more of what you want instead of fighting so hard and fighting to get things done. So in keeping with this theme, I'm really excited to have a special guest on the call today. Her name is Candice Holdorf, and she is a One Taste staff coach and Orgasmic Meditation trainer. Ooh. She received her yoga teacher training certification from YogaWorks in 2005, and she's also an actress where she trained at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts and the Stella Adler Conservatory. In addition, she's also a founding member of New York City's award-winning Flux Theater Ensemble, and she co-wrote the play 36-24-36, which is based on her and her castmates' experiences with eating disorders. So this play, 36-24-36, premiered at Fringe, New York City, 2007, and continues to play at colleges around the U.S. That's amazing. So Candice is passionate about helping people delve into the scary and taboo places in their lives so they can find joy and freedom. Her style of coaching is boldly honest, yet compassionate and open-minded, and it seems to fit in really well with what we've been talking about so far. So I'm so excited to have Candice on the call as a special guest tonight, and a big official welcome to you, Candice.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
It feels really good. I feel really like giddy and lit up, and it's really a pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, we're so glad to have you. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who submitted questions for Candice. We're going to keep this conversation a bit more casual and fun, but somewhat structured too. So I want to start off by first asking Candice if you can tell us a little bit. I know that we have a lot of info from you based on the bio I just read, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into this work, and also what exactly is a One Taste staff coach?
Absolutely. So I've been acting for a long time, since I was a kid, and I continue to do so. And in fact, I'm moving to Los Angeles in a few months to continue with that. And within that world, I found myself very creative and very open and very almost like when you're on stage, it is an orgasmic experience. So this is part of what maybe has been driving me for a long time, is living a life that's, full and ripe and energetic and creative and fun and playful. The way that I found One Taste was for many years, let's say for about 7 years, I had really struggled with anorexia. And a lot of those voices that were anorexic voices are, it's, you hear people who talk about eating disorders say it's not about the food. It's really not. It's about this feeling of unworthiness and this feeling of shame and guilt around your appetite. And it just manifests itself as, fixating on food. You can have shame and guilt and restrict in other ways in your life, or overcompensate and, like overindulge in other ways in order to not feel the feelings. So I've had, I was in performance and I was struggling with this eating disorder. And then towards the end of 2008, I eventually stepped away from a 7-year relationship. So it was at this point that I was like, okay, I don't have a place to live anymore because I moved out, and I have an eating disorder, and I'm trying to hold it all together as an actor, and something is off. Something is missing. Something is, like, there's this fear that's gripping me. So in 2009, I decided to make that my year of fear. I decided, like, everything I'm afraid of, I'm actually going to do it because I know that there's a desire on the other side of it. So I started doing all these things like going to Burning Man, and I took myself on a trip to Europe, and I, and then even small things like I'm going to eat pizza at Grimaldi's in Brooklyn, anything that felt a little scary. And then it was right at the beginning of 2010 that I met someone through synchronicity who told me about One Taste, about this place where every day you wake up and you stroke the women to the edge of orgasm. And I was like, what is this? Where can I get it? I need to follow it all the way through to the end. So 2 days later, I happened to find something in New York sponsored by One Taste. And I knew that there was something like real and palpable. Like I could feel how being within this field of people, I could feel that I was being truly seen and met. And I felt a feeling of fullness that I had never experienced before. And it was at this moment that I started to realize that all the things that I had been trying to do in the past to either deny my appetite or to fill the void with a relationship or with, trying to be in the spotlight so people would like me or whatever it wasn't going to serve me anymore and wasn't going to fill that hunger.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a few months later that I started the practice of orgasmic meditation, and I started to do the coaching program, the Om Trainer program. And so I've been with One Taste for about 2 years now, and I am really, really just blown away by how powerful the practice is and how orgasm is what it is that will actually nourish and feed you in your life. And that's the gift that I want to give to the world, and especially to women.
Wow. Wow, what an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit more about what exactly orgasmic meditation is, and what is the philosophy of One Taste?
Love to. So orgasmic meditation is a simple sexuality practice. It's a partnered practice. So one person, usually it can be a man, it can be a woman, it doesn't matter, will stroke the genitals of a woman. So one person has to be a woman, the other person doesn't have to be. The person who's being stroked is the female, and then there's the stroker. And the stroker is stroking the most sensitive part of a person's body, male or female, which is the upper left-hand quadrant of the clitoris. There are 8,000 nerve endings that terminate in this tiny little spot. And if you stroke this spot, in a very, very light way with no more pressure than you would stroke your eyelid, you'll slowly, stroke by stroke, start to expand your capacity to feel, to cultivate, and to hold orgasm in your body. So we do this practice, this stroking practice, for 15 minutes. We do it for 15 minutes because it's a small enough amount of time for you to have an experience and get up and go about your day, but it's long enough that you can actually have a full experience within it. And we keep it timed so that way there's a structure around it. So it really emphasizes that this is a practice. And all you're doing during those 15 minutes is feeling the sensations in your body. There's no goal of trying to make a climax to happen. And there's nothing to do afterwards. There's no like, well, I stroked you, so now you have to perform this sexual favor for me, anything like that. It's just, I think that's a lot of what women face is this commerce mind. There's this fear of asking for what we want or for experiencing pleasure because we feel like we have to do something in return. So we hold ourselves back from expressing that. So the orgasmic meditation practice allows us to go in, have an experience, feel what's in our bodies, and to simply step away from that and go about our day. So that's the practice of OM. And One Taste coaching deals a lot with, we use OM as a reference in our coaching at One Taste. So we start with essentially, clearing the body, clearing the mind, really sitting down and putting our full attention on what is. We start to strip away the layers of what we think a good person, a good woman, a good whatever, or, looking good. And we just tap into our desire. We help our clients tap into what it is they deeply, deeply want, like on a real visceral, in your body level. What is your body telling you that you want? And I'll tell you that these three things that I mentioned, attention, simplicity, and desire, are the three key ingredients to what we call slow sex.
And what exactly is?
You can take these three key ingredients out into the world, into anything that you do. So you asking what exactly is slow sex?
Yeah, that was my next question.
That was your next question? Yeah. I'm glad you asked. So the founder of One Taste, Nicole Daedone, has a book out now called Slow Sex. And she calls it the art and craft of the female orgasm. And it actually, her book is so beautifully written. It talks about the key ingredients of slow sex. It talks about foaming. It talks about how to start an own practice. And what slow sex essentially is experiencing, we'll say sex, but I'll even expand it to all of life. Because I think every moment can be an orgasmic moment. Everything can be a delicious, sweet, sensual experience. So it's experiencing all of life at the resonant stroke, at the speed that will have you feel the most sensation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I love the correlation and what you said about how you can take those three elements into everyday life, like not just with sex per se, but just in how you live your life. And you can, I really like that.
And I think that ties in with what you do with nutritional coaching, that aspect of your coaching, because I'm sure, you've talked about this in your series that, eating is a sensual experience. It's sexy, it's juicy, it's crunchy, it's delicious, it's, and being able to share it with someone else would be amazing, or being able to share it with yourself is amazing. And so to bring those elements of, flow into our relating, into our sexuality, into, do I really want to have this experience with this person, and being willing to like own the fact that you know what you want. I'll give you an example. I was with someone 2 nights ago, and we were lying in bed together, and I just looked at him and I said, I want you to take your finger and slowly trace this spot right from the middle of my forearm all the way up into my elbow crease. Very lightly, very slowly. And because I could tap into what I wanted in that moment, and I didn't have shame around asking for it, it was so pleasurable to feel him slowly stroke up my arm. And I was able to just drop in and enjoy that, and I could feel him enjoying it as well.
Wow, that's really powerful. Yeah, it definitely has lots of correlations with food in your body, and I think women have a lot of guilt around food and appetite and their body, and they feel guilty if they crave certain foods because it's supposed to be quote unquote bad for them. So I think it's so important the work that you do. So a lot of women are, touching on this topic, a lot of women are afraid or they feel guilty by their appetites, whether it's food or sex or other appetites. So what are some tips that you have in terms of how women can more fully embrace their appetites without feeling this sense of guilt or shame or worrying about the consequences of overindulging? Do you have any specific tips around that?
Well, let me first thank you for this. This is a beautiful, beautiful segue into a really important point that I want to make. I don't know if I have tips offhand, but what I do want to say is that your appetite is actually your power. What you fear, that like this uncontrollable urge, like, oh my God, I feel so hungry, like the fear that you're gonna like eat. It's just because we've been taught that a woman with an appetite is a slut or fat or greedy or is gonna hurt people or isn't a good whatever in the world. So first you have to be able to really just slow down. So I guess the tip here is to slow down. Like when you feel your appetite come up, slow down, right? Slow down any voices in your head, slow down any stuff that comes up, and just put your attention on what it is you're feeling in your body. So if you're feeling a sexual appetite, you can feel like, okay, right now my pussy is swelling. I feel my genitals opening up. I feel myself. My hands are tingling, my skin is buzzing, right? So just go right to the body first and start to feel what's going on there. If it's a food appetite, you're like, I can feel my lips dripping, I can feel the, whatever it is. So that's the first piece, just to put your attention on it. And then lean into that appetite, right? So for me, this would be simplicity. It's when all the voices start coming up, like the shame, or you shouldn't do that, or I know that my anorexia voice, because it still comes up, like the voices still come up. The anorexia voice will say something like, well, you've already had, a cookie today. You can't have, a chocolate bar too, or, things like that. You can just slow down and strip away the voices, or just name the voices. Like, okay, great, here's a voice in my head that's like a restrictive voice. There's restrictive voice again. And so that makes it a lot more simple, right, to not get bogged down and into believing all the stuff that comes up. Because that stuff is there to protect you. I mean, like, it's a defense mechanism. Because at one point in your life, you were told you were bad or wrong, or you were punished for having an appetite. And it's just old conditioning. That's all it is. And it takes an extraordinary amount of slowing down and conscious effort to like turn that giant ship of shame around. So
Yeah.
yeah. So, and another tip would be to be extraordinarily gentle and kind with yourself if and when you do overindulge. Because the only way you're going to know what your edge is if you bump into it. So for me, I know that when I started to really eat again, like really eat again, I would be up in the middle of the night having 2 or 3 bowls of cereal, and I'd be like, what the hell is going on? Oh my God, I'm going to blow up, la la la, all this stuff. But there was a part of me that was just like, your body is compensating for years of starvation. And if you continue to beat yourself up or starve yourself, it's going to retaliate. It's going to retaliate in some way by overindulging here or by shutting itself down or, you know, whatever. So I think if you start really tapping into your appetite and you've been on a restrictive way of relating to your appetite for a long time, you may have to kind of, I think of it as like, a pendulum and a clock. Like if you've been holding the pendulum way to the right for 7 years or 20 years or 30 years or whoever, and you start to like let that go so you can finally like swing, you're going to swing to the other side, and you may swing pretty far, but eventually you might swing back and forth. But once you allow yourself that experience, you'll slow back down enough to find that point right in the center where you're completely balanced. So I think that's all I have to say about that right now. Unless you have another.
Really powerful.
Oh, okay.
No, I love it. I love your perspective and your response, and it resonates so much with what I talk about with the women in the group about how we are so afraid of our indulgences, like whether it's food, like, oh, I shouldn't eat that, I shouldn't crave a cake, and if I do, I'm a bad person. And so we don't, we either pretend that we don't, or we have a little piece but we don't tell other people, and then we feel guilty about it. And then the more we deprive ourselves, the more we binge on those foods, the more we crave it. And I love what you said about how it's actually the key, because I totally agree with you. I think that the more we allow ourselves to experience pleasure, and it doesn't have to be just food or sex, but those are some very powerful and very shame-filled pleasures that women often deny themselves. I totally agree with you about that.
Yeah, those are definitely some taboo areas, food and sex, and one might even say money as well. But and again, you have to give yourself that space and that freedom to experiment and to play, because you may discover, like, oh, this whole time I thought I really liked kale, but now that I'm actually slowing down and tasting it, I find I really don't. And I've been forcing myself to eat this thing that I thought was quote-unquote healthy, and I really don't. I mean, I like kale just fine, although living in San Francisco, I'm starting to get really kaled out, I will tell you. but the point is to be able to slow down and to experiment and to quote-unquote make a mistake. And then eventually you'll find what it is that you're actually hungry for. You'll find what you truly desire. There are times when you all of us have run for the chocolate cake, and what I actually wanted was to tell someone that I was so angry with them and that I was so scared that our relationship was going to break. But instead of doing that, of listening to that hunger, because I didn't even know what it was saying, I couldn't even hear it, I just ran to the chocolate cake, or I ran for restricting myself from the chocolate cake.
Right. Wow, powerful example. So what do you think it is that really holds women back from truly experiencing freedom and joy in their lives?
I think I mentioned this in my last answer, but what I see a lot of is a lot of shoulds, a lot of, in order to be a good woman, I should have babies. And there's not, and believe me, there's nothing wrong with having children. Let me just say up front, there's nothing wrong with getting married. There's nothing wrong with having children. There's nothing wrong with, having a nuclear family and all that kind of stuff. But there is a sort of script that lives in America that says, like, go to college and find the husband and buy the house and have the babies and live happily ever after,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a big part of what keeps us from experiencing freedom and joy is adhering to this script of what it means to be a good woman, what it means to be a good person. And I think there's also this feeling, this virus or this pervasive air in our lives that says that to express pleasure, to express yourself, like to show that you're actually fully, truly enjoying the moment is somehow wrong or dirty or animalistic. Like the idea that's just coming to my brain right now was I was, for New Year's Eve, I was at this huge, awesome, ecstatic dance party, and I was, it was after midnight, and I was walking around. I realized, like, I really wanted coconut water. Like, I really wanted this. I was so thirsty. I really wanted this coconut water. And this guy that I was with, he, like, went all over the place, and he found the coconut water for me. And when he found it, like, I grabbed it, like, both of my hands, and I put it to my face, and I, like, drank it down. And it was like, coming, it was, like, like, splashing all over me and everything. But it was so cool and so sweet, and I was so grateful at how hard, because like he spent a good 20 minutes finding the damn coconut, there was no machete, so he had to like drill a hole into the coconut, like doing all this so I could get this coconut water. And I just enjoyed every cool, sweet, bright, refreshing, tingly drop of that coconut water. And had I been a woman who has fear around expressing her deepest desire and her fullest pleasure, I would have lightly sipped it, said a polite thank you, and then we would have missed an opportunity for connection and for deep, deep, humbling gratitude, because I saw on his face how happy and delighted he was that after doing all of that, I so thoroughly enjoyed what he had brought me. So I feel like there's this idea that to show our hunger and to show our pleasure and to show, or to just experience it, and that somehow that's wrong or that's greedy, and when we do that, we deprive ourselves and each other an opportunity for intimacy, an opportunity for connection, an opportunity for gratitude. And each time you nick that little gratitude or that pleasure, that, whatever, I feel like each time you nick that, another piece of shame, like another layer of shame grows in our body, right? Because to me, shame is just unexpressed desire.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your responses leave me speechless. But yeah, I totally agree with you about the whole script thing. I think that a lot of women that I tend to coach, there's this feeling that you can't enjoy pleasure. You can't allow yourself to experience pleasure until you've completed the work deadline, or until you've reached point A, or until you have that job, or until you're in a relationship, or until you're married.
Right.
And I like your message. I mean, it's really about slowing down. My takeaways from what you've said so far are really slowing down and allowing yourself to feel the pleasure and really not being afraid of it. And
and being a martyr, you know, like I like what you
yeah,
said about,
exactly.
well, until I do this, then I can, you know, like until I pay
Right.
my dues, then I can actually enjoy life. And it's like the whole point of life is to really just enjoy and feel. And I
Right.
think there's also what I had mentioned earlier was that you know, experiencing your pleasure, you know, showing how much you're enjoying something. Like there's that little voice in the head that says, "Oh, now you've got to owe someone something, or you've got to pay that
Mhm.
back."
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Woo! I know.
Very deep stuff, but
Yeah.
very important. I mean, it's so true because I mean, just in New York City, I mean, I'm sure in other parts of the country too, but everyone's always in such a fast pace that we don't allow ourselves to enjoy each moment. And I think sometimes we're also afraid of the sadness that we might experience. And
Mm.
sadness is totally okay too. I mean, it's all part
Mm.
of our emotions and our feelings.
Mm.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so yeah.
And that's part of the work that we do at One Taste is to expand and include all of that. And we see the sadness and the anger and the fear and the guilt and we see all of that as fuel,
Mm.
fuel for our orgasm. So
Mhm.
rather than seeing our hunger, our appetites, and all the stuff that's coming up as like, okay, these are bad emotions and we need to push them to the side and let's be joyful, happy, smiley girls all the time, right? We
Right.
actually see all of that as like, okay, bring it in, let me feel it, let me lean into it, and let me alchemize that into pure, raw energy orgasm that I can use to fuel myself towards my purpose, towards my happiness, and towards that which will bring me joy and freedom in my life.
Mm. Love it. Love it.
Mm.
Great. So, well, if this all sounds so great, and I'm so glad that, I really love your answers, and, there are so many correlations with the work that I do around nutrition coaching and self-care
Mm-hmm.
and women empowerment. So
Mm.
I'm just really glad that we're able to have you as a guest.
Mm. Thank you.
So,
I'm really profoundly grateful and honored that you brought me on. I love talking about this. I love contributing to the work that you're doing as well, because I definitely see you as making a very deep positive impact on women as well. So it's good to be here sharing this space together.
yeah, great. And I definitely hear your passion through what you're
Mm.
saying.
Mm.
So if people are interested in learning more about you, can you tell us a little bit more about how they can reach you? And
Yep, love to. So the company that I work with, One Taste, you can visit our website, www.onetaste.us. And you can also, if you want to learn more about me specifically, you're more than welcome to find me on Facebook, or you can visit my website, www.candiceholdorf.com. You can also reach me at candice.holdorf@onetaste.us.
and I just want to spell your last name too, and your first name,
Yep.
because I know there's
Okay.
different spellings.
No problem.
So,
So my name, Candice, Candice. My last name is Holdorf, Holdorf, as in Frank.
awesome. And I
Mhm.
know you have a special teleseries that's starting at the end
Mhm.
of this month. Can you tell us a little bit
Mhm.
more about that?
I'd love to. So One Taste has this sister site, which they call Turned On Woman. So essentially, a turned on woman is a woman that is fully hydrated in her orgasm. She's in her power. She uses her orgasm as fuel, and she uses desire as her compass. So One Taste has this 6-week Turned On Woman teleseries beginning January 30th. And for women who are a part of your program, we are willing to offer a special price for the teleseries. The normal price is $129, But if they come through you, then they can be a part of the teleseries for only $99. So they can send me an email for more information about that. I'd be happy to sign them up.
Wow, that's such a great investment and a great way to start off a new year. So
yeah, totally.
If anyone is really sitting at the edge of their seat after hearing this conversation, and if you've been really wanting to dive deeper into everything we've talked about so far in terms of women, energy, and just uncovering more of this whole any guilt around appetite and just diving deep more into what brings you pleasure, then I really encourage you to sign up for this teleseries because it sounds amazing, and I'm sure you can tell by Candice's energy and her passion that this is going to be a really amazing teleseries. So again, Candice's website is www.candiceholdorf.com, and One Taste website is www.onetaste.us.
Yeah. So, One Taste, so ONETASTE.
Oh, yes. That's important to say. So, Candice, are there any last words that you want to share or any last thoughts that you want to share before we end the call?
I am simply profoundly grateful to be here and beginning 2012 with you and with these ladies, and I look forward to seeing what brings, what the new year brings us, essentially. So, yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much again, Candice, for being on the call. And yeah, I just learned so much myself, and I'm so excited to start off 2012 this way too, talking about pleasures and what we want. So, we talk so much about resolutions and what we shouldn't do, or giving this up or giving that up, and I think it's great to talk about like what's your deepest desire. It's such a fun way to start off the new year. So
yeah, I'm done with resolutions, should not. I am ready for just gratitude. I'm ready for, I am full and abundant right now, and I am grateful for and move on forward 2012.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, hon.
Okay, well, have a good night, everyone, and thanks again, Candice, for being on the call. We'll speak again in 2 weeks. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.